Hi, everyone. I'm Susie Gidseg, Marketing Director and a passionate leader of empathetic, high-performance teams. Welcome to my LinkedIn video series, Leading Questions, where usually at this time, I dive into real conversations with authentic leaders. But today is a special video. I've heard from many of you throughout the course of season 1 that you wanted to hear a little bit about me and my journey. So I am adding to the stage Paige Eckhart. Paige is a leader on my current team. Today, she's going to be asking me the questions. So really excited to share with you all a little bit about my journey and answer whatever questions Paige has for me. So Paige, welcome.
Hi, as you mentioned, I'm Paige Eckhart. I'm on the social media team at Dell, and I'm a little newer into my leadership journey. I'm excited to put you on the hot seat a little bit this week and see what you have to share. And I know that you have so much great wisdom, so I love that we're able to highlight the ways that you're a leader for the world to see. I've had a lot of great coaching and just learning from Susie, and I think that she'll have a lot of wisdom to share with everybody else in the way that she's poured into me and the rest of the team. What inspired you to even pursue a leadership journey in the first place?
When I was really little, I was really interested in student government. So my mom has this poster, and it was like a picture of my head and a big sun, and it was like Susie's for president. As I got a little older, I actually started leading theater companies. I was the director and the producer, and I realized that I loved leading groups of people to do artistic things. Then when I moved into the workforce, I was a client, but an unofficial group leader of the content studio, where I got to work with a bunch of creative folks to make amazing work. And I was like, wow, I really like this. I liked the work a lot, but I also loved the leading of people. What's interesting about my own journey, and I'm not sure if you know, maybe you did, but I sort of became a manager overnight. I was talking to my manager at the time, who was Sarah Rosen, who's been a guest on this podcast. She was like, what do you think about, actually becoming a manager? And I was like, I think I like this idea, but I want to think about it. I came back from the holidays and I was gifted you guys, this amazing team. And I was like, whoa, surprise. And then we all went on this journey together. So I am thankful. It's way better than I ever thought it could be. There's obviously challenges and hurdles and things we've learned together, but it brought me so much joy in ways that I really couldn't have expected.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that you became a manager overnight. So that's such a fun. It's been 3 years roughly now that you've been managing the social media team. So, like I said, doing a great job. Can you share a specific challenge or like a setback that you faced as a leader? And then how did you overcome it?
So you were there for it. I think, Paige, and you remember, we all became a team overnight. We were working through things, we were meeting in person, and then we had COVID. So I was honestly just learning how to be a manager in person, and then pivoting to how to become a manager virtually was quite a challenge. We all did it together. We had to figure it out, but it required new levels of authenticity. It required so much more communication. It required navigating areas where there were no clear answers and somehow still doing our work while understanding our own humanity and how we had to be there for each other in different ways. Honestly, I remember reflecting at the end of the year, we came together in ways that I think may not have happened if we were just in person.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just the way that you encouraged us to look for other opportunities to be together, even if we couldn't physically be in the same space. Like you just made it happen in a really unique way when there wasn't like a lot of resources or anything at that time. Like now you could Google how to like plan virtual events and virtual team builders, but like none of that existed at the start. So
That's true. And still give yourself some kudos too. Paige led our culture club at the time and was really instrumental in building the culture. I think we all knew how important it was, that you couldn't pretend that you were just doing your job without your life being part of it. It was definitely a really pivotal moment for me as a manager.
I think that that leads into the next question really, really well. How do you prioritize work-life balance and well-being, not only for
Mm.
yourself, but for your team in a leadership role?
So I feel like this is essential. And I feel like a lot of the leaders I've talked to this year, we're all thinking about it. Um, in past times and past generations, this was not something that was even talked about. I've talked to my mom who's in the workforce years ago. She's like, you talk about work-life balance? What is this? But for me, I feel like we are all full people. We spend a lot of our life at work, and I want to make it the best I can, both for myself and for my team. I realized about a year into COVID that I was sort of doing it wrong. I was taking on tons of work and I was working too late and I couldn't detach. And then after a while became really purposeful about doing the opposite. But also, I hope I've done a good job at encouraging you guys to do the same. Do what you have to do to be a full and complete person. It is completely normal to say, bye, guys, I'm taking a walk, or I have a doctor's appointment, or I am checking out a little bit early today. And that's just part of being a human being. And I love that that's sort of like not a gift that I give to you guys, but a culture that we've established together, that we've built a culture of trust. We've built a culture where self-care is important and caring for each other and for your mental health and for your well-being is important.
I would say you definitely encouraged that and helped adjust that mindset for me. I think for me, just being like early in my career, not wanting to like
Yeah.
disappoint people, I was very much like a yes person. And if people needed it, like it didn't matter if it wasn't my traditional working hours. If I got an email, I remember talking to you about getting online and responding to that email, no matter like if I was at dinner or whatever, because I was new to being a salaried employee. And I just didn't know like what that balance looked like for me. And it had caused like a lot of stress and a lot
I
of
remember.
just like pressure to always be on. And
Mhm.
I remember you kind of gave me permission. I don't know if permission's like the right word, but like you gave me permission to like take my ping off my phone, take my email off my phone,
Yes.
go like enjoy dinner with my husband, go hang out. And you were like, look,
Mhm.
work is like in your working hours. If it's an emergency, that's when you get back on and you get it done. And there will be those moments every once in a while, but it shouldn't be your everyday. And like you were the first person I think that actually like breathed that truth into me. And it really helped me find a much needed balance in my work life. And I've been more productive, I think, because of that, and definitely happier, not only at work, but also at home.
I'm so glad, Paige. And I feel like it was something that had to be given to me. I think it's pressure we put on ourselves, and that sometimes it is just hearing like, hey, it's okay. Detach. I always say, like, I know your cell phone number. If it's a true emergency, I'll call you. If not, please get offline.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that it helps you. It makes us more present while we're here, but knowing when we can be gone, we're truly checked out.
Yeah, and it's a trickle down effect because somebody told you, you told me, I've told other
Mhm.
people. The more we create a culture where that truly is the case and everybody is kind of leaning into it and getting the goodness from that. Well, let's dive into another question. As a leader, how do you balance the need for innovation and risk taking with the importance of also having that stability and consistency of work?
I thought that was a really good question, Paige. So, what I believe is that first you have to have trust. I've tried really hard on our team, and honestly, even with our stakeholders or our extended team, you have to build trust. You have to get to know people as people and understand like what makes them tick. Once you have trust, then I feel like you can have safety. Safety is also really important to me. So things that are consistent, that you generally know how I'm going to react or what I expect. You generally know what's going to happen in meetings. You generally know how the team works and how we tick. Then when all of that is good, and I feel like that is baseline, then I think it leaves a lot of space for innovation. Something that I have thought a lot about is that I am always open to pushback. I was
Yeah.
always open to you guys saying, like, actually, that no, let's try this, or like, what about this idea? And never feeling like you guys felt that your ideas, for whatever reason, weren't as good as my ideas. We all have ideas. Our ideas are all good. That was really important to me. So once we have trust and safety and the ability for people to use their voices and feel empowered, then I feel like it leaves place for crazy and wild ideas. If there's something you want to try, big believer in, if you have an idea and you want to make it happen, I have your back and I want you to try it. I feel like the only way that can happen is if everyone feels like your ideas are welcomed. Every once in a while, there's something we can't do. But on the whole, if there's something that gives you joy and something you're excited about, knowing that you have the runway and the support to make it happen.
I think you 100% do that. I know for me, like stepping into the editorial strategy role, there wasn't like a lot of parameters around it. And so anytime it was like, okay, I think I want to do a workshop, like I don't know where I'm starting. And you were like, okay, well, let me know what questions you have. Let me know if I can connect you with people or, doing like the Women in Tech panel that we did a couple of years ago and leading LinkedIn Lives for the first time. There was just so many
Yeah.
moments where either me or maybe somebody on our team hadn't done something before, and you gave us the space to lean into that. I think a lot of times you call them stretch projects, and all
Yeah.
the learning that comes from them, and then like the championing that you do to help us make sure that they're a success. You're really good about asking questions instead of providing guidance first. That is a hard skill to learn as somebody who's trying to learn that skill
Yeah.
myself, because it's really easy to tell
Mhm.
somebody what to do in like the way that you would
Mhm.
do it, but not everybody does things the way that you would do it, and that's okay. By you asking the questions and by giving us the space to kind of figure things out on our own, I think that we get a lot of unique perspectives and a lot of unique work that comes out of it.
I love that, Paige. And I know we've talked about it a little bit. That is one of the biggest things I learned switching from being like a high performing individual contributor to someone that was supporting and leading teams, is that you have to give people room to figure it out and support them. My first instinct, and I had to work through it a lot, maybe those first months, is like, but no, this is how it's done. And I had to be like, whoa, pull that back. Let's try that a different way. There's not one way to do anything. And the more diversity of thought we have and the more voices we have trying things and feeling supported, the better we're going to turn out.
You've been interviewing all these people all season long. You've
Mhm.
been sharing a lot about like what they see as important in leadership. In your experience, what qualities do you believe are really essential for effective leadership?
I feel like a lot of my leadership style, for good or for bad, came from what I didn't like in others. Throughout my career, I had many amazing leaders and then a few leaders that didn't meet the mark. What I tried to do is lean into the qualities that I loved in leaders that I really looked up to. And if there were things that I felt were not the way I wanted to be led, making sure those were not the things that I brought into my leadership style. I believe, and really, I guess the basis for this whole podcast is really like there's a new way to be a leader. It doesn't have to be the way from the movies and the Mad Men generation. There's a way of being kind and authentic and compassionate and listening and supporting. I had leaders that championed me, and I want to champion you guys. And I want you guys to always feel that, like, no matter what situation you're in, I'll always have your back. That's number one. Number two, I feel like listening. I'm a talker, I talk a lot, but I had to lean into the ability to really listen and hear. I also think it's really important to have boundaries, something that we've leaned into on our team. It's something that in the past, sometimes you have leaders that are like, take this and take this and take this. I know this is a growing area for me too, but from hearing you guys and from our continued work together, the ability to give the right projects to the right people at the right time, with also an understanding of what is too much, and also an understanding of like, what can I take away to give you room to work on what's really important. That's been a really big growth area for me, and also something that I feel like is essential to leaders in the future. Then I would say lastly is just be kind and authentic. I try to be myself in every situation I can be in. I try to be candid and build that relationship with each of you guys that you can feel like you can be that way with me.
I think you do that all really well. You like take feedback really, really well as a leader. And I think that that's awesome because it helps. I think in like a similar vein, talking about like culture and how we foster a positive and an inclusive culture, I'd love for you to share that because I think our team does some really unique things in that way too.
So one of the pieces of feedback I got a long time ago at the beginning of our team, one was we needed more celebration. And I was like, oh, very interesting. I was like, I feel like I celebrate people, but it's not enough. So then we implemented something called kudos, which I love.
Same.
And weekly, people submit kudos for team members and people that have had their back, who've gone the extra mile. We end our staff with it every week. I still think it's the best thing we do as a team. Honestly, I feel like in this culture where everyone's moving so quickly, and you're done with the next project and you're on to the next thing, being able to publicly thank people for having your back in a quick way, I think has been a joy. The other thing is the culture club, which we talked about a little bit at the beginning. This is something that candidly I borrowed from, I think at the time it was Havala Tower Perkins and Gretchen, who were leading the
Yeah.
social business team at the time. I went to them and I said, "You guys have a really good culture. What do you do?" And they told me some things. I know you and I and some other folks sat down and we were like, we are going to proactively and really strategically build a culture. It's finding ways to come together, gather, celebrate, be our authentic self, do something that has nothing to do with work. And while that keeps iterating and changing, I think the fact that I care about it immensely as a leader, I know you guys care about it as the team. We have enough people that care and want to put their own time into making that a reality. I also think for good or for bad, I look for culture fit when I hire. I want to make sure that hiring people that also care about being a team member, having each other's back, buying into the culture of our team. I want diversity of thought, I want diversity of background, but I do want people that are a fit for our culture. I feel like that's been looking at the folks we've hired over the past couple of years. I'm amazed by how many people come in and are the perfect fit to the culture that we're
Yeah.
building. Um, it feels good when you like who you're working with and when you know that people genuinely care about you as a person. So that was sort of long-winded, but culture, kudos, giving feedback and turning them into actionable things that add to the culture of our team is something that's exceedingly important to me.
I think we definitely thrive due to all of those things. And I think that's something that we hear a lot, especially when we have new members who join our team, is just like how tight knit we actually are. Like how they feel like we actually do have each other's back. We can be out on vacation and know that work's going to get done because our teammates are going to help drive it to the finish line. If somebody does need help, they're going to pick it up. I think that that's really unique and special and definitely a testament to the culture that you've helped encourage and cultivate. I know that we're probably close to time, so would love to wrap up with your most memorable success story or achievement during your time as a leader over the last few years.
So it's interesting. When I was thinking about this, I did not have one example, but I do have a general feeling. The thing that brings me the most joy and fulfillment is seeing you guys lead things. When I think about, your journey as a leader and the things you took on and developed and made your own, we have an annual event, Dell Tech World, that team members in our team, Jamie and Katrina especially, took on and led. This year we had our event and I was there to support them and I was not the leader of the event. And honestly, it brings me immense joy. I love seeing you guys make things your own. I love seeing you guys take on projects, have the tough conversations, lean into uncomfortable situations and find your way through it. And that growing and empowering the next generation of leaders is really what I feel like my job is. Our job obviously is to work in, corporate social media, and that's very important. But really, it's about empowering each of you to come into your own and know that you have a safe place to do it and a team that rallies around you and supports you. And that honestly, for future folks who are going into leadership or thinking about leadership, what I would say is that feeling something that motivates you? Do you get excited and fulfilled by seeing other people get excited and fulfilled? If so, leadership might be a place for you. If that's not something that floats your boat, that's also a determination that maybe it is not the place for you. But it brings me a lot of joy, and seeing all of you grow in your careers is fantastic.
I've really appreciated your leadership over the last few years since you became my manager. I was definitely on an individual contributor type of path, and I wasn't even thinking about leadership, at least not like this early on in my career. And so
Yeah.
the way that you've just like championed me to like step into that and like breathe encouragement based off of like the skill sets that I have, I think has been really, really great. Having leaders who make space for you to like present in front of the big executives or to take on a project and like lead it and you trust us to do it. I'm just really thankful for the ways that you've helped us grow, the way that you help us to lean into our skill set. And you've just been a really incredible manager, Susie. And I'm lucky to have learned really directly from you. But I think that the series that you're doing is going to allow a lot of people to learn from a lot of great leaders, yourself included. So thanks for being on the hot seat today.
Thank you so much, Paige, for taking this role and asking me the questions. I appreciate you, and I also appreciate you sharing your own journey through the conversation. And for everyone else, I'll say thank you so much for your support over season 1. I learned a lot from leaders that I already knew that motivated me and inspired me. I look forward to more authentic conversations with more authentic leaders. Happy holidays, everyone.